Chapter 7. Ilio. This was happening fast. Too fast. But Daniel would be gone in a week. If anything happened, there wasn't time to slow down. Maybe God put me in Daniel's path for a reason. Maybe I was the only person to save his life. I was still afraid that they would find his body washed up on shore. I went to the pharmacy. Daniel went to the men's section to find a few things. As I stood in line, I thought about Noah, of our year together and the final days. It had ended fast. One weekend we were partners in the race, and he proposed. I had had enough of his mind games. I grew a backbone and stood up to him. He walked out. A month later, I was living at Mom's. If I learned anything, I learned that I couldn't live on my own. Daniel was the first relationship I had since Noah. I wonder if Daniel even realized how scary this is for me. A year avoiding any sort of romantic entanglements, and look what happens. I start to crush on a guy I met yesterday, and who will only be here a week. Not just any guy, one as messed up as me. He didn't think I saw him crying as we drove. I'll let him think that. The funny thing is, I didn't cry over Noah, but I did cry over Timmy. I guess I loved Timmy a lot more than Noah. It was my turn at the front of the line. The pharmacist knew me, because I had picked up Leilani's prescription for years now. I was one of the signers on the account. I found Daniel looking at white button-down shirts. "No, you're in Hawaii." I put the shirts back, and we went over to the t-shirts. Soon, he had a cart filled with all the basics, a couple of tie-dyed shirts, a couple pair of shorts, a package of briefs, socks, deodorant, a yoga mat. "No board shorts? No Speedo?" "I think I'm done," he said. "Really? No board shorts, no Speedo. You're in Hawaii, and you need to loosen up. Time for an intervention." "What are you talking about? What size are you?" I asked. 28 or 30 or small, depending on the brand. Like I hadn't already guessed that one. I pulled out a red pair of board shorts with green tiger stripes on the right hip and a Speedo. "You'll need these when we go riding." Daniel reddened. I don't know how to swim." "You never learned to swim. Are you serious?" "They have a couple of pools back in the butte, but I never went. Besides, it's not a priority when you live in the Mojave." I laughed. "Everybody here knows how to swim and surf, or they should. We live on an island. Trust me, you'll need them. If I can train Timmy to ride on a board, I think I can help you out in the water." "Whatever," he said. "Why a Speedo?" "Think of it as swimming underwear. They keep the boys safe." I smiled and leaned in close. "At least once a day some guy loses his swimsuit out in the surf. If it happens to you, you won't be running around naked." Daniel gave me this weird look, but he still bought the shorts and Speedo. I'll get him on the board, even if it's laying down. When we got out to the car, the sun was getting closer to the horizon. One thing about Hawaii, we have the best sunsets of any place in the world. Sunrises, too. "Before I take you back to the Monarch, I need to drop off the prescription." "Sure," he yawned. Jet lag would be 3 hours between here and Vegas. 2 strange days, and he's probably exhausted. I would be. I drove to an older part of town, one of the residential sections, and pulled in the drive of my family's home. Off-white siding, black roof, a couple of palm trees out front, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. 7 of us lived there, 8 a few weeks back, if you counted Timmy. We climbed out, and I led Daniel up to the house, holding his hand tightly. I didn't want him to flee in terror. "Leave your sandals at the door," I said, "arms and hands in the right at all times. The fun is about to begin." "Maybe I should wait in the car?" "It's just my family. What could go wrong?" With the way Daniel's weekend had gone, probably everything. We climbed the short steps to the porch, left our sandals with the pile of shoes by the door, and walked inside. I hope Daniel is ready for this. In the living room, Grammy was on the couch, crocheting something. Leilani was on the floor staring up at her phone, and Leilani, her twin, was painting her toenails. Shani was walking out of the kitchen with a banana. The PS4 blared some combat game from the bedroom I shared with my brother, Johnny. Something smelled good, so Mom must be in the kitchen. Daniel swallowed, and I rubbed my hands on my shorts. It was about to begin. "Here's your prescription." I tossed the bag at Leilani, and it landed next to her. She grunted. "Who's the guy?" Shani said, taking a huge bite. She never missed the obvious. "Meet Daniel. Daniel, meet my family." I introduced everyone. Mom came in. "You should have called. I would have made more. Dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. You don't have to feed me, Daniel said. Mom cut him off. Yes, I do. It's my duty. Look at you. You're too skinny. Mom, I said. Johnny came in, wearing his gaming headset and holding a controller. My brother has an attitude. 20 pounds overweight, he never leaves the house unless he has to get a new game or go to college. New boyfriend? Johnny sneered. Daniel turned the same shade of red as the board shorts. He's cuter than your last one, Leilani said. Johnny rolled his eyes. It's about time you found a new guy, Leilani said. Hey, I'm taller than he is, Johnny said, and she was, by an inch. When are you going to move in with him so I can have my room back? Johnny said. If it were possible for Daniel to turn any redder, he would have. I don't think he was thinking about yesterday at all. He held my hand so tightly his knuckles turned white. I bet he's nicer than Noah, Leilani sang. How did you meet? Leilani said. Is Ilio a good kisser? Johnny said. You leave the poor kid alone. Grammy laid her crochet down and climbed off the couch. She was the only person in the room that was shorter than Daniel. Welcome to the madhouse. I don't think they come any crazier. Leilani's got a point. Ilio has been too lonely lately. Little thing like you will be just what he needs. And Daniel surprised me. No, we're not boyfriends, Daniel said and laughed. I'm only here for a week, and then I head back to Nevada. I'm 5'4", so yes, I'm shorter than most people. We met in the bar yesterday, and out at the luau last night, and I asked him to lunch today after yoga. We haven't kissed, so I don't know if he's good at it or not. He took me shopping because my luggage is who knows where. Technically, this is our 4th date. Any other questions? They asked all kinds of questions, and Daniel fielded them like an old pro. He charmed my family, except for Johnny, who was killing things in the other room. Then Shani asked one of her weird questions. What's the hardest yoga pose you know? Can you show us? Shani practices a little yoga, thinks she's pretty good at it. I think she was trying to trip Daniel up. What did Daniel do? He tucked his shirt in, moved the coffee table out of the way, and did a quick hamstring stretch. I took out my phone and started filming. Okay. Daniel shrugged and got on the floor. He sat on his hands, lifted himself into a sitting position, balancing on his hands, lifting his legs off the floor, then somehow gyrated around, and then he was on his elbows, completely vertical, and his legs descended behind him, almost like a backward circle. His legs didn't touch the ground. He moved with a precision and a grace I didn't know he had in him. His shirt slipped free, and I could see the way his abs compressed with each move, or how his arms and shoulders coordinated together. The way his back moved beneath his shirt, the synchronization of his shoulder blades. It was amazing to watch. He moved his body around, never letting his legs touch the ground with any move, and he was in motion for 2 minutes. It wasn't pure yoga, though he added that too, but almost a gymnastic routine, and his legs never touched the freaking floor. He finished by doing a shoulder stand and doing upside-down vertical shoulder presses nowhere near a wall, freestanding, 10 of them, as easily as you could lift a soup can. He lowered his feet to the ground and into a plank, raised his butt into some triangle pose, and walked his hands back on the floor, knees straight, heels on the ground, until he was standing, his head by his knees, with his hands flat on the floor. He lifted his chest up until he was vertical. He smiled at my sister. Does that count? He might not look it, but he is not boring. Ashley was an idiot for letting this guy get away, and I am the idiot who just might be falling in lust with him. You don't fall in love after a day, but maybe you decide if you want to get to know someone better. Your turn, Shani, Leilani said. Top that. I wish my boyfriend did that, Leilani said. I wish your grandpa could have done that, Grammy said. Shani was in shock. So was I. I shut down the phone and replayed it. Daniel came over and watched. I should have stretched first. I didn't get the full extension. I can do better. Later, Mom said. Dinner's ready. Leilani, plates. Leilani, forks and knives. Shani, glasses. Johnny, you clean up the table when we're done eating. Ilio, you have dishes. Johnny, get in here. I'm not bringing it to you. The scary part? Daniel fit in, made conversation, told about how he started yoga and about accounting. Noah had remained silent around my family. Daniel kept the conversation moving. Mom told about her work. Leilani told about school. Everybody talked. Even Grammy seemed to like him, and she's picky. I guess Daniel is an honorary Smith now. After dinner, Johnny nearly threw the dishes at me before he sprinted back to his game. Daniel gathered what Johnny had missed, which was everything, and brought them over. He took a towel and started drying them as I washed them. "You have a nice family," he said. "They didn't talk about football even once." "I thought they were going to eat you alive when you first got here." I snapped my teeth a couple of times. Shark food. "They weren't so bad. You should have seen my finals presentation a couple of years ago. The professors threw every question they could at us. Some made sense, some didn't, just to see if they could upset us. Your family's nothing compared to that." We finished the dishes and put everything away. "So where do you sleep?" Daniel asked. I marched Daniel into the room I shared with Johnny. Johnny was a gamer when he wasn't in school. Some nights I sleep in the other room because he's too busy saving the universe or something with his friends from all over the world. Warcraft, Call of Duty, he does them all. He has shelves next to his bed lined with 20 different action figures of various superheroes and game characters, and another set of shelves had hundreds of PS4 games, graphic novels, and a couple of his college books buried under them. "Arkman, to your left," Johnny yelled. It was a simple room. 2 mattresses on the floor, an old desk with a PS4, and some glowing gigantic desktop computer with wires and controllers and a large flat screen. A gaming chair, a closet divided in half. Johnny had pinned up a couple of posters of girls in bikinis. A couple of empty Pepsi cans were on the table next to the PS4. Johnny's side of the room was cluttered with old Chinese takeout containers, lots of candy bar wrappers, a ton of papers on the floor, and a bunch of old clothes. I kept my side neat, lots of room to maneuver. For Billy. My 2 smaller boards hung on the wall next to my bed. A small dresser held my clothes, but on top of it leaned an old boogie board I had made years ago before my accident. Red, of course, with a wolf on it. No, I didn't paint the wolf. In front of it was an old picture of me, Billy and Timmy, sitting on my first board, white with a red stripe. We had finally gotten the dog to sit on the board and stay. We were 2 happy kids. If only I had known the disaster that was coming. "Pusher 5, take right." Johnny hooked back into his game, and his brain was 1,000 miles away. "Not that way, Venus. It's a trap." Under the window, on the wall between our beds, was Timmy's huge bed. It was half the size of one of the mattresses and covered with his favorite blanket, his doggy dishes, 2 40-pound bags of dog food. His balls and frisbees were by the side of my bed. The shovel that was the pooper scooper and the bags for the poop. His collar, harness, and chewed-on leash and comb. I should get rid of them, but I couldn't. "Arkman," Johnny said, button mashing his controller. "I thought you had it." Daniel knelt by the huge doggy bed and picked up a chewed frisbee. That must have been his favorite. His favorites are in the garbage. He destroyed those. Johnny's chair creaked and he pounded on one of the buttons. "Nice save, Venus." "He does this all night," I whispered. Daniel yawned, covered his mouth. "Nice place. It's not the Monarch Imperial, but I call it home." I led him back to the living room and away from the chaos. I honestly don't see how people can live in that place. So stiff, so formal. It's all show. His voice trailed off. I think jet lag was catching up to him. "Let's get you back to the Monarch. You've had enough for one day." "That's not fair to you. Off to the Monarch, then back home. Then do it again tomorrow. I can just sleep on your couch if that's all right."